So we are here today with Lee C Conley, and we are going to be talking about all of the wonderful books and things that are happening sometime, possibly in the near future. We'll see. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what sort of projects you've got going on.
Well, I live here in the UK, in Lincoln. I've been writing a series called The Dead Sagas.
Oh.
It's kind of a sort of a zombie dark fantasy sort of series. I've just published my first one. It just came out on the 17th this month.
Oh, how fun! Congrats.
And the next one should be out really soon. I've nearly finished writing it. So.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you write quickly then.
Well, I've been writing it for a while, so.
Okay, that makes more sense. I'm always jealous of those people who can put out so many novels so quickly.
No, I wish.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about your book that just came out.
Well, it's a dark fantasy. It's set in an almost Iron Age, sort of almost Viking style culture. And
okay.
There's an organization called the College who are scholars, and they are delving into the, sort of, dark arts and their old histories, which they shouldn't really be doing. And they actually accidentally unleash the dead, which then proceed to destroy everything.
Well, so. That's a good warning against academia. Okay, so I presume then either they are tasked with fixing this problem or someone else is?
Well, it runs with a number of point of view characters. So I've got the people who are involved with the initial, what's called the bone rituals in the college. And I've got a series of warriors who are on watch looking at another war, and then they get embroiled in the whole situation. There's a number of other characters which may not seem as important in the first book, but become very, very important as they go. So I've got about 3 or 4 point of view characters. So but it's all ties together into one big story.
Oh, very fun, very fun. Okay, so zombie apocalypse sort of thing combined with dark fantasy. You don't see that as often.
I've been hearing that a lot actually recently. I'm quite surprised. But yeah, I've been hearing it quite a lot. So.
Yeah, it tends to be either one or the other. So what had you combining the two?
Well, I'm a big fan of things like The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And, obviously Game of Thrones, and like I read an awful lot of fantasy anyway. I watch a lot of zombie films, and I thought, let's combine the two together.
Yeah.
And I just had a couple of good ideas going, and they all sort of came out and ended up being sort of one idea, really.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that's sort of how it all started. But, it's quite fun.
Yeah, that is great fun, and I have suddenly become very interested in these things. My last couple of interviews have said, yeah, you should probably go be a bit more investigative into this area. So it's on the list of things to read. Okay, so tell me a bit about your writing sort of schedule and routine. If you've been writing this for a while, then it sounds like you've sort of got everything really going on for you, editing and marketing and whatnot.
Yeah, well, I'm actually doing a degree in writing at the minute, so that's been helping.
Okay.
I generally sort of write in the morning. I find I usually best write in the but sometimes late at night as well. I work as a music teacher in the daytime.
Right. Wow.
So it is, and I do a martial arts instructor as well. So
and do you have time for this?
I know, I don't know where the time comes from, but I try and just write as much as possible.
Okay.
So it's but yeah, I mean the editing. Our last book was edited by Tim Marquise, lovely guy, really really good job. Yeah, I've just been sort of promoting it myself. I've got Michael Evan helping me promote, a few other people helping me as well.
Sure.
But yeah, it's been going quite well actually this time. So.
Okay, wow. Okay, so I'm really impressed. You're doing a writing degree on top of teaching music. And a martial arts instructor.
Yeah, I teach historical martial arts. I teach longsword mostly. So,
okay. Tell me a little bit about that. I don't know much about historical martial arts.
Well, it used to be called WMA, or Western Martial Arts.
Right.
It's now being called more regularly HEMA, which is Historical European Martial Arts.
Okay.
But basically, it's all the old medieval martial arts systems based on the old treatises, the actual historical documents, and we've been reinterpreting the martial arts. Obviously, they're all lost martial arts.
Right.
And there's lots of different interpretations, lots of different styles, and we're trying to get a working sort of longsword system together. So we've got a pretty good longsword system now. Teaching sword and buckler, military saber, which is good as well. Tomahawk and knife we do as well, which is a bit of everything really, but primarily longsword. I fight in tournaments and go off and do things like that. So.
Oh, Okay, wow, that's quite impressive and sounds
It
like
gives me a
loads
good
of
perspective on the fight scenes I write. I try and keep them quite realistic using
yeah,
actual historical technique. So most of the time. So.
right. Okay, but you said your books were Iron Age. Is this sounds more modern than that?
Absolutely, yeah. And the stuff I'm currently doing is usually 15th century. The
Uh-huh.
tomahawk and knife stuff's actually from American
Right.
colonial time, but it does translate very well into sort of axe. And there's a lot of my characters have axes, and it's mostly predominantly axes and spears and shields, very Vikingish or Saxon almost. But though there's no actual, I hear it quite a lot. There's no actual long swords in my books in this series anyway. Everyone's always quite surprised by that. But no, it certainly still helps. I mean, the
Yeah,
mechanics of
absolutely.
fighting is the same no matter what weapon you're using. So
Right.
once you've got like a good grasp on the mechanics, you can create some quite realistic fight scenes, which is quite fun.
Absolutely. Oh, that sounds good fun. So how much research do you put into this? Because it sounds like you've done a fair bit.
Into the martial arts or the writing?
Both?
Well, the martial arts, obviously, I have to read a lot of translated or old texts. So there's quite a lot goes into that, and obviously we spend a lot of time actually practicing and training and everything like that. The writing, there's so much research goes into that. History,
Oh.
you know, old cultures and things like that. It's from the writing as well. It's research is a big thing that we do.
Okay, so has your fantasy world been based off of sort of the real world, or is it entirely separate? Because I know that happens and comes up a lot when research is required.
Let's say it is entirely separate, but it is very much inspired by Viking, Saxon, and sort of England or the British Isles at the time.
Okay, okay.
But it's not actually set in historical period at all. It's a purely fictional universe.
Interesting. Huh. Well, it sounds like fun combining real life with not quite so real life, but then we are writers, so. Okay, so what is your least favorite part of writing a book or publishing it?
That's a good question. Possibly the editing. Possibly the hours and hours and hours of editing that goes into it. But at the same time, the editing is what really pulls it all together.
It does, yes.
But it can be tedious sometimes. Yeah, I'll go with that. The editing.
Okay, editing it is. Yeah, that's a fairly popular answer. People don't like editing much, which then leads to the question, okay, how much in the way of beta reading do you have? Because the more beta reading, I assume the more questions come up as opposed to answers.
Well, I have a small team of beta readers from the last book, and hopefully I'll have a bigger team next time. So I've had quite a few people who have seemed quite interested. Some of them are other writers, some of them are just big fantasy fans, and we work together. If anything doesn't make sense or there's a plot line that just doesn't get resolved that I unintentionally have left unresolved, then they'll point that out. So I actually released it first time around last year. Same book, but it wasn't very well edited, and the cover wasn't very good, and I was still finding my feet in the fiction. I published non-fiction before, but not fiction.
Okay.
So this time around, I've done I worked quite hard to get it a much more professional release. So data reading was a big part of that, checking everything over. So I suppose the first time round was almost, you could consider it a sort of a possible beta. Everyone got back to me on certain things about that. So.
That is one of the common traps of the self-publishing world, I have noticed. Okay, so how was the jump from non-fiction to fiction?
Well, it was quite interesting. The first book I published was actually a guitar book. It was a guitar theory textbook. Obviously, I was a music teacher.
Is this for playing or building?
For playing. I work as a guitar teacher as my main job.
Okay, sure.
And it was basically my notes for over 7 years, all my teaching notes and things.
Wow.
I'm going to put this into a book. Did a bit of extra research, threw a few things in there. But while I was finishing publishing that, I started just writing a lot of fiction. I think I got the bug for writing, and within about a year, I think I had the Dead Sagas pretty much finished. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, the first book's called A Ritual of Bone, but the series is the Dead Saga.
It's going to be released. How many books in the series?
Hard to say. I've definitely got 3 at the minute. I think there's going to be possibly 4 or more. So, but definitely 3 or 4 in the current main storyline. Maybe a few standalones as well.
Ooh.
There's a lot of good stuff going on. There's a lot of there's a huge
So that's my favorite bit is when it's not. I mean, I love standalones. Don't get me
Mm.
wrong, but when you've got such an intense sort of woven storyline together, that's always good fun. So are you better at, have you outlined everything and then woven the story together, or are you just winging it?
Well, I generally, sometimes I will sit and I'll just write and see what happens. And then if I get to a particularly complex part, I will start outlining things. At the end of the current book I'm writing, the second book, I've outlined quite a lot of it's the first half of it I've outlined because that weaves everything together, and the second half I'm just going to write it and see how it goes, see where people end up at the end. But I have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen overall. But minor characters, who knows what's going to happen to them? I don't know at the minute.
They would be the unintentional, unresolved plot points, yeah?
Possibly.
Always fun. Okay, so how did you actually, so you got into writing nonfiction first and then moved into fiction. But how did you get into writing nonfiction? Why did you decide to publish your notes?
It was purely just, I had a big folder full of notes, and some of it was quite good. I teach other guitar teachers, and I teach postgraduate students, so it's quite advanced guitar stuff I'm teaching. And I just thought this might work really well as a book, so I put it all together, and yeah, it just kind of happened.
Okay, is it classical guitar or not quite so?
I'd say it was mostly rock and jazz.
Ooh.
I play mostly heavy metal myself, but I play jazz, blues. You know, as a teacher, you've got to play most styles. But I'd say I specialize in heavy rock, definitely.
Okay, and is this modern heavy rock or not quite so modern? Because they are different.
They certainly are. I play quite modern stuff in my most recent bands. But again, in my touring band from 10 years ago, I was playing all the old rocks. So
good fun.
Anything with good heavy rock in, I'm there.
Yeah, no, that's just completely unrelated to writing at all, but it's always fun. No, I've just been reading about David Gilmour and selling his Stratocaster for $4 million.
Wow, I love Pink Floyd as well. Absolutely love Pink Floyd.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy. Okay. So as far as stories go, what is a favorite story that you wish you had written of television or books or plays or anything?
That's a good one. I really like Stephen King's The Dark Tower. I think that's amazing. But at the same time, I think only he could have written that because it pulls so many of his other characters together.
Yeah.
I'm quite envious of Stephen Erickson's Mazzolan books. The scope of epicness in those books is mind blowing. He goes back, hundreds of thousands of years, and it's incredible. Possibly those are two of my favorite books, by the way, as well. I recently read John Gwynn's books, The Faithful and the Fallen, and he has a very similar world to me, but yet a completely different story. But the setting is quite similar to what I've done, and I really love his writing as well. So maybe his books too.
Okay, so mostly fantasy, that sort of a thing.
Oh, definitely fantasy.
Definitely favorite genre?
I'd say so, yeah. I'm all fantasy. I do read some horror, but I'm predominantly a fantasy man, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, no, I understand. I am currently reading a whole heck of a lot of fantasy, and I just can't seem to stop. Oh well. I do know that with a lot of the modern shows, they seem to be sort of building on this idea of the epic fantasy. I guess it was Martin that brought out the whole Game of Thrones thing. And I'm wondering if that's going to change in the future, do you think?
Well, I think we're in the golden age of adaptations for fantasy at the minute. I mean, we started off with Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, which I'm a huge fan of. And then, obviously, Game of Thrones. And now we've got The Witcher, and we've got Wheel of Time, and all these amazing sounding shows coming out. So, but I think the general trend in fantasy has been getting a bit darker, and there's a big horror scene at the minute. So it's one of the reasons I wanted to get into horror/fantasy. Is I think maybe something that's coming up in the future. So hopefully it'll start getting darker. I'll have a bigger audience. So it's all good. Yeah, it's all good.
Interesting. That would I haven't heard that theory, but it would make sense considering the general trend. Oh.
Well, to be fair, that trend it's moving away from grimdark a little bit these days, isn't it? It's going sort of dark and it's offshooting into all these different genres. But generally, there seems to be quite a gritty, dark taste in the audiences out there. So it could well keep going that way. I'd be
Interesting.
surprised if it went back to high fantasy. I would be surprised by that.
Yeah. Yes, that is true.
But it will happen eventually. It will.
It
It
will.
all comes full circle. So.
Oh yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just pleased that we can actually get these adaptations out there as opposed to who knows what else they would come up with. Although they do need better writers, some of these shows, but well.
Definitely. I think they should consult the actual writer on a lot of these shows. But that could get messy, but
You want actual writers to do the writing? That seems a bit.
Yeah, it's a crazy idea.
I'm just not so sure about that. I mean, that might end badly. We might actually get stories that make sense.
I know. Who would think that?
No, there's no money in that. But what do I know? Okay, so self-publishing wise, how did you find it? How do you find it? Is it improving at all with the market, or do you think traditional publishing is still going to win out?
Well, traditional publishing is always going to be very strong, but I think many of the self-publishers out there at the minute are really putting out some very professional, very strong books. I mean, they're well edited.
Oh, cat.
There's a cat. I was wondering if my cat would turn up, but she hasn't.
Normally she's asleep right now, but apparently it's snuggle time. So
what's her name?
This is Leah, or the Queen of the Universe, or as most oftenly called, Kitty. Yes, dear. Okay, that's helpful. Going away now. We'll try that. It may not work.
That's all good.
Okay, sorry.
Where were we on that?
Self-publishing and traditional publishing.
Well, I say the self-publishing industry at the minute is very strong. I think people are really upping their game.
Yeah. She's relentless. Okay. I have to. She will not stop unless I pay attention to her. So keep talking. I am listening.
If my cat sees what we're doing, she'll be straight on. So. Don't know where she is. But yeah, as I say, I mean, there's some absolutely incredible writers around at the minute, and some people are choosing self-publishing for the control element. I mean, I think that was a big draw for myself. I didn't actually even query at all. I just,
really?
I had it edited, re-edited, did my own covers. I get to maintain complete control. There's less exposure, but there's also sometimes the issue that the first book might not do very well, and then I might get dropped. And I really, really wanted to finish this series, so because I think I have overall by the end there'll be a good story to tell, hopefully. So I chose self-publishing as a definite route. So.
Well, as far as marketing goes, I know a lot of traditional publishers require their authors to do marketing as well, or on top of whatever it is that they're already doing. So it feels a bit more like an even playing field, minus the big name behind you. But that could just be me.
Yeah, I mean, I've been contacting all the review. I mean, I've had to do all the legwork myself. I've had to contact all the different reviewers, and fortunately, I'm in contact with a lot of the bigger names, which has been great. Obviously, I've had some great support on this release, but there's still so many reviewers that I haven't had. I don't know, or I'd love to get in touch with, but they're busy with the traditional stuff. So, but yeah, it's definitely improving, going from strength to strength. As long as people keep editing their stuff and using editing, professional covers. I think a small industry is growing up around the self-publishing market, so I think it's a good time for self-publishers.
Interesting. Yeah, self-publishing is the way I've always the way I've always gone. This is not gonna work well. Okay, so self-publishing, I've always gone self-publishing, and I think it's just the traditional market is overwhelmed because there's so many good books out there that are self-published and that people have been querying for and whatnot, and they just can't get their books out there and noticed, I guess.
No, definitely.
But then with all of these people writing, it's always interesting to see what's going to happen. And the cat is sitting on my questions. This is helpful. Okay, well, I can remember one that she's not sitting on. So what is the best money you have spent as a writer?
That is between two things, I think. That's either between my editor or my
Hmm.
cover artists.
That is
Cover
what I
artists.
hear. Editor and cover artist are
Well, if
sort
I
of.
can group them together, then that's definitely the best thing. Which one between the two? Oh, that's tricky. Definitely. I mean, my cover artist did an absolutely incredible job, and
Right.
I think a lot of people have been just getting in touch saying, "I love that cover," which
Yeah.
is really, really nice. But again, without the editor, without Tim polishing the stuff,
Right.
it just wouldn't be, it wouldn't be the same inside. So, but definitely those guys. So,
Okay.
money well spent, most definitely.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Editor and cover artist are the best things to spend money on. So how did you find your cover artist then? Because I know they're out there, but there's also an influx and
Mm.
a huge number to sift through.
Well, I really like the sort of the 90s styles of covers, the action covers. Um, but with a sort of the more modern dark twist. So I was looking on DeviantArt, and
Uh-huh.
there's very few people out there doing zombie fantasy covers. They're
Right.
almost possible to find on the stock websites. So I looked on DeviantArt for some zombie artists, and then I
Mhm.
found a few who are doing sort of medieval-esque zombie art, and I got in touch with a few guys. There's one guy who I particularly really liked, Cloud Quino, his name is, his advertising name is. And we got in touch and we went from there. But he did an absolutely great job. So
Yeah.
I think I might be able to actually a book here. Actually, do you want to see the cover?
Yes.
Let's do it. Let's see if you can. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but which I'll grab this one with it. All right, here, ready? Here we go.
Okay.
Ooh. It's a bit dark, isn't it?
A bit dark,
Mm.
but oh wow, that is. If you could push it back just a touch. Perfect. Oh wow, that
I
is
will send you some
really
pictures.
cool.
But yeah, he
Fantastic.
did a lovely job. So I was really, really happy with that. So, cool.
Well,
That's how I found DeviantArt. I'd recommend.
chart. That's the second time I've heard people say that's where they found cover artists. So
I was skeptical. You never know who you're dealing with. Sending money to strange people on the internet is never a good idea. But but it worked out well for me. So.
yeah, yeah. Well, I know too many people who are artists or know artists or are related to artists. So it's a bit overwhelming sometimes. But that is a beautiful cover. I like it quite a lot.
Thank you.
Uh, okay, so let's see here. Okay, so for people trying to get into the industry, apart from editing, what are some common traps that they should probably be careful to avoid?
Traps to avoid. Oh, I'm not sure. I mean, I think concentrating on getting your story as good as you can make it is the number one thing
Right.
everyone should be doing.
Right.
I mean, sometimes maybe it might be worth. One of the reasons I took my degree was so I could learn how to write and edit, properly, and how it was done. The
Hmm.
done thing was. But the first book I actually wrote before I did any of that. So maybe avoid showing rather than telling and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
But what pitfalls to avoid? It's a tricky one. I'm not sure. As long as you're writing what you love and you keep going. You've just got to keep going.
Yeah.
Plug away those words and then polishing them to make them really, really good before you put it out there. That's the mistake I made last year. I don't think it was quite ready, but I just put it out there.
Yeah.
Inexperience,
I
definitely.
have done that.
Mm.
I'm still recovering, but yeah. Okay, so you're the first person I've talked to so far that actually is doing a degree in writing. Do you think it's worth it?
So far, it's been absolutely fantastic. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it was encouraging to read that a lot of the stuff I do already is stuff that that I should be doing.
Mhm.
But again, I've learned lots of new things as well, and it's very, very. I'd very much recommend any writing, maybe not just a degree, but any writing courses if you're not
Yeah.
sure, or just dive in, and it's
So,
always good. So
right.
I particularly enjoyed writing the short stories, which I've now started writing loads of short stories,
Oh
and
dear.
poetry as well. I know. The poetry as well. I've always
Ah.
wanted to understand poetry, and sometimes I don't think I do still. But it's still nice to see how they look at it in an academic way. And
Hmm.
yeah, academic writing, even fiction, is sometimes got quite a lot different to
Yes.
actual
Yeah.
you know trade writing.
I've had that problem when I was doing my linguistics degree and writing a book at the same time. I noticed that I would cross the styles a bit, and it never ended well. No, you must do certain things in academia that you shouldn't do in fiction, and vice versa. But so your degree is more focusing on the how, and as opposed to looking at some of the older or not the older, just literature in general.
Well, the degrees I'm doing is actually English literature. So that is all the old English literature. We were doing Faustus by Christopher Marlowe last year, and all sorts of things like that. Some great old stuff. But then it's a split with creative writing as well. So I have creative writing modules, and I have English literature modules, which can be quite heavy on the Shakespeare-esque old style stuff.
Well,
haven't done Shakespeare yet though, but I will. I look forward to it when I do, because I do enjoy a bit of Shakespeare.
Well, Shakespeare is just a bunch of soap operas with fancy language.
Yeah, and rude jokes, which I always appreciate.
They're so If you actually understand some of the language and you translate it into modern English, it's terribly amusing. But then I used to, when I was a wee little child, I had Shakespearean insult parties in my school. So, I might just be a little bit biased there. Okay, so creative writing courses. And you're at what university are you in?
I do the Open University.
Oh, okay.
I work in the day, I work in the evening, and I'm teaching sword work all the time. I basically needed a course where I could slot in, and do the time in my own time. So the Open University over in the UK, I don't know if you have it over there, but the OU over here is absolutely fantastic. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, here we have, any of the ones that are online or free. The MIT does a lot of those. I don't know if they do writing. I'm not sure. They do a lot of engineering ones, I know. Con does some, but I don't know if that's university level. I'm not sure. But there are surely online courses that you can take.
Oh, absolutely. Mine's done through like a traditional style of application, so it's all student loans and everything like that. So, but yeah, it was really easy to get onto, so it was good.
Oh, well, that sounds fantastic. So good fun. Okay, so talking about your upcoming book, when is that coming out? Just so I can be aware.
The first one's a Ritual of Bone.
Right.
The second one, it'll be a Ritual of Flesh. Now, I've already got about 90,000 words of it finished.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first sort of 2/3 of the book, which is sort of Act 1. And then the second half of the book is going to be really fun. I'll just say that. But I reckon maybe another 30 or 40,000 words. So
okay.
Yeah, maybe about 140,000 altogether, I think. So maybe even 50. Maybe I don't know. But it shouldn't take too long. A couple of months.
Couple of months. Wow.
Yeah, a couple of months. Hopefully I'm supposed to have it finished by now, but I think I'll finish by Christmas. You know what these things are like.
So how often do you write, and how much can you do in a sitting?
Well, I try and go every day, at least for an hour or two.
Right.
And usually per hour, on a good day, could be 500 to 1,000 words.
Right.
I usually get around 500 to 1,500-ish words done most days. So some days I just edit, though. Some days I just edit or...
Okay.
But yeah.
Any tips for self-editing? Because that's always fun.
A good style manual is always good.
Yeah, I should have seen that coming.
But yeah, I kept all my editor's notes, and there were a few things I had a habit of doing, so I've been aware not to do them again, and hopefully the next manuscript I send out to him will be much cleaner. So.
Well, okay, and do you have any other stories planned besides this series?
I do, actually, yeah. I've got some sci-fi I want to write.
Oh, yes.
I've always wanted to write, it sounds a bit cliche these days, but I really want to write a Weird West. Everyone keeps saying you should do another zombie Weird West, but I know that's been done, but maybe.
So what?
It depends if I'm sick of zombies by the time I finish writing the Dead Sagas. I might want something completely fresh, but well, we don't call them zombies, they're the dead. We don't say zombies. Zombies are a naughty word.
Oh, is it? Oh, well, that's...
they're only called the dead, yeah.
Just dead.
Yeah, the dead, yeah.
I like it.
But yeah, I've definitely got a few things. I've got a few short stories hopefully getting published this year.
Anthology style, or just...
Hopefully so. Yeah, it's I can't say exactly where and when, but there should be an anthology story or two coming out soon, hopefully. So
Very exciting. Very exciting. Yeah, no, I'm thrilled to be reading all of these books, and sci-fi is definitely on my list, please. So, otherwise, do you have a favorite underappreciated novel? You've told us about your favorite sort of stories you wish you had written, but there's always an underappreciated novel that we want to bring more people to know.
Well, I always thought The Black Company, Glenn Cook was quite underappreciated. I love those stories; they're great. But it appears the more I delve into the sort of the online community, it's actually quite well known. So, I've read quite a lot of good indie authors in the last year. I did the SPFBO from Mark Lawrence last year, and I met loads of great authors. There's The Game Bird by Aidan Walsh. That's fantastic.
Okay.
Nautical fantasy. Michael Baker's The Thousand Scars is absolutely fantastic as well. I'm actually beta reading his re-release for that right now. It's very exciting. So many books.
I know, this is my problem.
I think that the Silmarillion, Tolkien.
Yes.
I think that's a bit underappreciated, but that's a big novel, isn't it? But,
well, that depends on what you define as a large novel. I mean, technically speaking, The Lord of the Rings was one book broken into three pieces within each. I think it was. There are 9 volumes. Not sure. But Silmarillion isn't comparatively that large.
No, it's quite short, but I always hear a lot of people who like Tolkien don't like it.
Really?
I love it. It's great. Yeah, I know a few people who say that they love Lord of the Rings, they love The Hobbit, but they don't like Silmarillion. But I love it.
Yes, but that could be because I am far too fond of all of that.
Yeah, likewise.
See here, how many of his books do I have? Farmer Giles, etc., etc. Oh dear, yeah, I could go and read all of those books all over again, except I have too many things to read at the moment. But
the never-ending TBR piles.
Yes, and it's growing larger as I speak.
I know. It's a curse that we all have to bear, I think.
Well, I thought it would be all right because, okay, yes, I can read a fair amount in a week or so, and it turns out, no, it just keeps going, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. Oh, well. Okay. Is there anything you would like to add about your books or anything?
Well, the first 2 books actually were supposed to be one gigantic, great big book.
Oh.
And there's 2 particular story plot arcs with 2 particular characters where a lot of people have said, why are they there? I mean, they're great and the story's fun, but I don't see how they relate to the rest of it. But definitely bear in mind that it was initially one big book. I did consider putting those characters in the second book, but I wanted it all to happen, except for one chapter in the third book. I wanted it all happen chronologically. So they're in there, and you're wondering, why are they there? They're cool, but why are they there? But it will all be revealed. And all characters will end up coalescing into one big storyline. So.
Wait, if it weren't to happen chronologically, how would it happen?
Well, it all starts off, as say, the first book, it all goes in the orders of that. There's one bit where the third book, the opening chapter of the third book, I actually go back, and that actually happens early in the first book. It's one of the characters that you don't see again, and he's still there. So
right, so it's not flashback, it's or time travel. It's just
no. He literally starts the story from his point of view, and then he has a slightly different story, which then connects in later on.
Oh, how interesting! I love messing around with timelines and seeing what havoc that can cause. So that is very interesting.
Thinking about putting that chapter at the end of the second book, just so everyone knows that I didn't just randomly add him in, later on. He has been part of the plan from the word go.
Yeah, but the suspense. Yeah. Interesting. I will have to go read your books to actually find out what is going on, because now I'm awfully confused and really want to know. So, I believe your book is on my list to read for one of my book reviews. So I will try my best not to give away which character you're talking about.
Well, you'll have to guess because it's not given away in the first book.
Ah.
But feel free to send me a message and I'll either not answer you or cryptically hint. But I'm terrible for not giving away my secrets.
You're going to make this difficult on me. You're going to actually make me think. All right. Well, now I really do have to go read your book quite what now. Now would be good. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking with me. I am now interested in all things dark fantasy zombie. So, are there more books out there like this? Because I've not heard of them.
Well, I thought I was writing something. Obviously, there's zombies in Game of Thrones, but I think they didn't put the zombies in, or the dead in enough of a spotlight. But there appears to be, there are a few actually. My friend Michael Baker, as I say, I'm reading his book. His book's about a necromancer. But it's very much epic fantasy. Some zombies zombies in his book. There's a few historical fantasy books. I can't think of the name of the author. He wrote a Roman zombie book, which looks quite good. There is a few. But I thought I thought I'd plow ahead and do a real sort of zombie apocalypse-ish style bit epic fantasy but not just a regular apocalypse style story, but with a real story, character-driven story going on in that setting. But yeah, there are a few of us around, definitely.
Okay, so there's more than I thought.
Not many though, not many, but there are a few of us.
No, that's all very interesting, and my list just got bigger. Okay, well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It was great fun talking with you. Is there anything else you want to add to the world?
I can't think of anything. If you do read my book, come say hello. Drop me a message. I love hearing from people.
Yes.
And I hope everyone who does read it really enjoys it.
Yeah. Okay, well, it came out on the 17th.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
This month. So June 17th, so it is not even a month old. Go check it out. Absolutely. Well, thank you, and I hope you have a good evening doing writerly tasks or playing heavy metal. Either one.
Thank you.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.